Well, it has been a crazy, amazing summer for all of us. Somebody say all of us. And I say crazy, amazing because there are highlights and lowlights, but as long as we're moving forward, it's amazing, right? And so I haven't preached on a Sunday morning. It feels like 2 months. So you're going to get about 2 months worth here for the next 45 minutes. Look at your neighbor and say, that's all right. That's all right. Here recently at the Rain Conference, and we're getting ready. Let me introduce my next series to you, okay? My next series is called Hot Chocolate and Marshmallows. I know everybody's like, really? Can I get some right now? Hot chocolate and marshmallows. And what we're doing is we're getting ready for the fall. And the thing that I love about fall the most is family time. I love family time. I love the hot cocoa and marshmallows, the s'mores, the bonfires. Of course, everybody's favorite, Thanksgiving. Come on, somebody, right? So we're coming into the most family time of the year, and some of us, it's the scariest time of the year because we got demons for family. Hey, listen, don't raise your hand. Don't raise your hand. But how many of you got demons for family? You're like, ay, ay, ay. That's Spanish for help me, Jesus. Ay, ay, ay. Right? And so some of us aren't really excited about those family times because it gets really difficult. Everybody's on edge. Everybody's walking really light because you don't want to offend this person, get that person mad. Well, I got to be honest with you. You're not alone. In Mark chapter 10, the Bible tells us a story about a father whose child was so out of control, he didn't know what to do. And I want to encourage you this problem. You're not the only one who has crazy kids. You're not the only one who married a wife, come on, somebody, that needs Jesus. Come on, you're not the only one who married a husband that, oh, help us, Lord, right? So here's what I want to say to you. Jesus has the answer for our family, and you don't want to miss when we kick off our series, Hot Chocolate and Marshmallows. It's going to bless your life. Look at your neighbor and say, we're bringing the s'mores. We're bringing the s'mores, right? So get ready for that. It's going to be a great series. But in the Rain Conference, my daughter was inspired, and she wrote a song. And if you got to be here last week, her and Jericho put this song together in just a couple of days, and it was fire. Somebody say fire. And it just kind of reminded me of where we're at right now. And I want to kind of just shake you up for a little bit. Somebody say a little bit. Because we've got the summer blues we got to shake off, right? We got to shake off the summer. Some of you are so happy the kids are going back to school. You can pray. You never pray in tongues, but you're about to right now. Come on, somebody, right? Kids are going back to school. Everything's going back. But there's this lull that kind of sets in on us in summer. So I just kind of want to remind you for the next couple of weeks about where we're going and what's really happening, okay? So if I can, for the next couple of weeks, I'm going to talk about let's go to war. Is that all right? Let's go to war. How many of you, well, let me read these scriptures really quick to you, share them with you. This is Matthew chapter 11, verse 12 in the Amplified. And from the days of John the Baptist until the present time, the kingdom of heaven has suffered violence, a violent assault. Violent men seize it by force. As a precious prize, a share in the heavenly kingdom is sought out with most ardent zeal and intense exertion. Let me read one more to you. This is 2 Corinthians chapter 10 and verse 3 through 6 in the Message translation. It says, the world is unprincipled. It's dog eat dog out there. The world doesn't fight fair, but we don't live or fight our battles that way. We never have and never will. The tools of our trade aren't for marketing and manipulation, but they are for demolishing that entire massive corrupt culture. We use our powerful God tools for smashing warped philosophies. Come on, somebody. Look at somebody, say philosophies. Tearing down barriers erected against the truth of God, fitting every loose thought and emotion and impulse into the structure of the life in the life shaped by Christ. Our tools are ready at hand for clearing the ground of every obstruction and building lives of obedience into maturity. Father, thank you for your word today. God, I ask that you would bring us awareness and understanding. Lord, awaken our spirits and our minds to receive what you're saying today, that it may be fruitful in our hearts, God, and produce in our lives. We ask this in the blessed name of your son, Jesus. Everybody said amen. Why do we need to talk about war? Are you ready? One statement. I hope this one statement brings you in the house and focuses you, because victories don't come by accident. Why do we need to go to war? Because victories don't come by accident. Nobody ever raised their hand and go, we won the war? Come on, you follow what I'm saying? Nobody ever raised their hand and go, my marriage lasted? Come on, nobody ever raised their hand and go, my kids really turned out good? How did that happen, right? So victories don't come by accident. If victories don't come by accident, then we have to recognize when it's time to war and be ready to go to war. Does that make sense? So sometimes, and I love this statement because sometimes you start a war. Have you ever started a war? No, you must not have been married too long if you haven't started a war. Come on. Sometimes you start a war, but sometimes the war comes upon you. And I love this scripture in the book of Matthew because the Bible says that since the days of John the Baptist, the kingdom of God has suffered violence. In other words, there's a war that's being imposed on you. And you may not like it. You may say, I didn't sign up for it. It doesn't even matter. You may not even be in church. And the enemy wants to destroy you. The Bible says that the devil comes to kill, steal, and destroy. So you may not realize this today, but he's after your life. He's after your health. He's after your marriage. He's after your finance. Come on, somebody. He's after your career. He's after your destiny. He's after your impact. The devil would love for you to do nothing more than chill at home and watch Netflix. Come on, somebody. And do nothing with your life. But because there's an assignment on your life, there's a war that's coming at you. Now, you can do two things and go, or you can do like this. I went to school in a school. The name of the school was Washington Union in Fresno, California, a suburb in Fresno, California. And this is when the war was breaking out between Hispanics and African Americans. And it was huge. I mean, literally fistfights in school every day. Police in school every day. I had this one friend who was African American. I don't even know if it's politically correct. Stuff got me all crazy. I don't know if I'm saying it right. He was a friend of mine. His name was Mike. Mike never got mad. Mike always had a smile on his face. He could break dance like nobody. Mike was black. I was Hispanic. We were homies. I could break, but I couldn't dance all that much. But we'll deal with that one later. And so Mike and I were friends. And I remember we were playing football at PE, and there was this guy that wanted to fight Mike. And he's like, dude, chill. I don't want to fight you. He's like, no, we don't. And he was coming at Mike. And Mike's like, dude, I don't want to fight you. And he took 2 swings at Mike. He said, don't do that again. Mike was small. You think I'm small? Mike was small, skinny, couldn't be 120 pounds soaking wet. This cat coming at him was 6 foot, almost 6'2", about 180 pounds. And he comes at Mike, he said, I told you to stop. And he didn't stop. And that joker came at Mike and he said, pop, right in his nose, right here, his nose started bleeding blood. And I had to go to the principal's office because they was fixing to expel Mike. And I said, Mike didn't want to fight. It was this guy who wouldn't leave him alone. And sometimes you're living life that way. You're like, why does this keep bugging me? Why does this problem keep coming at me? I'm happy. I'm just doing what I got to do. But why does this thing come at me? Because the enemy doesn't want to see you fulfill God's purpose in your life. And he's gonna keep coming at you until he gets you to engage. So I'm not saying live for war, but I'm saying you better be ready when war comes. Does that make sense? Look at your neighbor and say, victories don't come by accident. How many of you got that friend that argues really good, but never throws their hands up? Don't you come, don't. And as soon as people come, hey, what's going on? You got that friend that argues really good but never fights? Listen, just because you argue good, just because you come to church doesn't mean you can fight. You follow what I'm saying? Just because you have the right verbiage doesn't mean you can fight. I know a lot of people, come on somebody, who talk a good talk, but when it comes to put those dukes up, is that term too old for y'all? When it comes to throw dogs, well, where are y'all at? I don't know, what do y'all say nowadays? When it comes to get into battle, I know a lot of people who just throw their hands down and walk away because your talk is good, but your bark is good, but your bite ain't that big. Look at your neighbor and say, look at these canines. Come on. Come on, their breath a little funky. Look at the other neighbor. Go ahead. I have a single desire this morning. A single desire this morning for the next few minutes. I want to help you recognize the warrior that's inside of you. And I want to help you wake it up. Life is going to bring things to you. Sometimes you invite those things on your own. Sometimes you invite those things on your own. Come on, somebody, right? But the truth is, whatever life comes to you or life brings to you, there's a warrior inside of you. And you are way more capable than you give yourself credit. I don't know about you, but one of the struggles in life, a health issue I've had, is sleeping. Anybody here ever struggle sleeping? I struggle sleeping, and one time I spoke to a sleep therapist. He's a doctor here in town. And he goes, "Hey, Eli, can I tell you why you struggle sleeping?" And I'm like, "Please." He goes, "Because you're afraid of not sleeping." I said, "What?" He goes, most of the time, the reason you stay awake is because you're thinking, "Oh my God, I'm only gonna get an hour of sleep." And so every hour, you're looking at the clock. I'm thinking, why don't you just shut up and tell me something that'll help me? He says, "You're so worried about not sleeping, you don't sleep." I'm like, "Well, what are you saying?" He goes, "Can I say something to you?" I'm like, "Please." He said, "The average human can go 3 days without a wink, without 1 wink of sleep, and not lose one bodily function." I said, "What?" He said, "Yeah, you can go 3 days without sleep and still function." And here I am, "I didn't sleep nothing last night. Oh my God, I can't do all my work. I'm dragging." And then I didn't realize that my body was designed, man, I'm preaching to somebody. My body was designed to go 1 night, 2 nights, 3 nights without sleep and get up the next morning like a rock star, take on my responsibilities and get everything done. And so I'm here to tell you, the trial you're facing is not bigger than the warrior that's inside. Oh my God, I wish somebody has an ear to hear. Your trial is big. Your struggle is big. But what's inside of you is bigger than anything that's going on around you. You're a warrior. "Pastor, I'm panicked." Well, be a panicked warrior. "Pastor, I'm getting tired." Be a tired warrior. I want you to wake up what's on the inside of you today and recognize that you are infinitely more capable than you could ever dream or imagine. Look at your neighbor and say, "I feel my biceps getting a little bigger." Pastor, I don't feel like a warrior. Well, can I tell you why most of us don't feel like a warrior? Because we spend more time whining about our problem than focusing on God's ability about your problem. I'm telling you, 2 months without preaching, y'all gonna get it today. If you keep worrying about the enemy coming at you and how big and strong the enemy is and how terrible and mean life is and how troublesome the situation you're facing, you're forgetting that one day you gave your life to a God who holds the world in his hands. You're forgetting. Come on, we're talking about our troubles, but we don't talk about the trouble fixer. We're talking about the seas, but we don't talk about the sea divider. We're talking about the lions, but we don't talk about the one who shows up in the lion's den and can stop the mouths of the lions. I know you're in trouble, but here's what else I know. Your God is greater. You can't see him because all you're talking about is what you're going through. That's why the power of God's word is so important in the season that you're in right now. You can't always hang around people talking about, "It's hard, huh?" It is hard. You get around them old jokers. "I'm so tired." "Why are you tired? I've been doing this 30 years, mijo. Come on. Come on, young people. You know what I'm talking about. Mow the lawn. Come on. "Oh my God. Oh my God, it took me 15 minutes. Oh my God. I had to push it. You got a little remote thing right here." Talk about how tired you are. You pulling the trigger. Get around some of the old people who had to pray when they couldn't go to church. Get around some of them old people who had to hold on when there was nothing to hold on to. All I'm telling you is you're focusing on the wrong stuff. And you got to get around people who are feeding your dream, not your fears. It's so hard to be a life group leader. Who are you hanging around? so hard to go to life group. Who you been talking to? Warriors, find a way. Warriors, make a way. Come on, somebody. I fell in love with this green-eyed Latina, and they told me I couldn't have her. But how many know I'm a way maker? You look at me like that. You're the same way. You know they told you, you'll never get that man. You talk about, watch me. Come on, you made a way. You got a way. If you can do it for that, don't tell me you can't make a way for the one who gave his son for you, who came down to, you're a way maker. Ooh, I'm a good stuff in this house today. Look at your neighbor and say, I came to the right service. I'm going to give you 3 points here in just a minute, but let me say this to you, that there's not enough room for you and God on your throne of your heart. A lot of us are losing the direction for battle because we want the attention of our throne in our heart. And as long as you're calling all the shots in your life, there's no room for God to orchestrate and strategize the next battle for your life. I don't know about you, but I struggle with that. I like control. I like to plan my life. And when God says, hey, I want you to do this, that gets really difficult for me. Because I've seen a lot of people mess their life up. And I'll be honest with you, man, I'd like to think I'm pretty intelligent. I like to think that. So when God says stuff to me and it doesn't make sense, I'm like, that must not be God. That's got to be the devil. Right? You ever feel that way? God, surely you don't want me to be that person's friend. Surely you don't want me to forgive that person. Surely you don't want me to say that to my wife after you don't want me to say that to my husband after Lord, really, you don't want me to go to church every Sunday? And a life group? And volunteer? What if, I'm just going to ask you this. What would your life look like if you weren't controlling the throne of your heart and God was? What would you be afraid of if God was navigating your life? What would you act like if God was navigating your life? Are you following what I'm saying? See, the enemy will always use external distractions to gain internal control of your life. I think I'm going to say that one more time. The enemy will always use external distractions to gain internal control of your life. Let me explain to you, as my daddy would say. I'm going to explain you something. The Bible talks about Jesus and the 12 disciples in the boat. And they were out on the sea. Somebody say the sea. And they were out on the sea in the boat and everything was nice. But then all of a sudden, while Jesus was sleeping, did you ever have a season where you felt that Jesus was sleeping? Okay, no, maybe you haven't said long enough. Okay, there's a season where it seemed like Jesus was sleeping and the storm started to rise. And not only did the storm start to rise, but in the middle of the storm, Jesus was still sleeping. And so the disciples started to panic because the distraction outside of their world was stronger than the direction inside the boat. Jesus was silent, so now the storm became dominant. And I got to ask you, what do you do when the storm is dominant and Jesus is silent? What the enemy is trying to do is he's trying to get you to change the inner control and change the inner direction of your life using external matters. And I want you to know this. At the end of the day, what does it matter that anybody else does? I'll kind of explain. Let me calm down a little bit. You know, Jericho was little. When he was little, I would smile and Jericho would smile. He's the only one of my kids that did this. I don't understand yet why. One of these days we'll understand it. But I would make a frown and start to cry. And he would do the same thing. Whatever he saw me do, that's exactly what he would do. And some of us are that way with the people around us. Just be honest with you. Everybody's wearing skinny jeans. Not me, but I don't wear skinny jeans. Okay, whatever. We're all emulating people around us. We're all concerned with what people around us say. And I got to be honest with you, I want people to like me. I don't know why Joe isn't a Cowboy fan. What are you waiting for, Joe? Always riding me about the Seahawks. I want everybody to be a Cowboys fan, but if you're a Seahawk fan, you ain't never gonna like me the fact that I'm a Cowboy fan. So what am I gonna do? Give up on being a Cowboy fan because you don't like me? Are you gonna give up on being a Seahawk fan? Right? Are you gonna give up on being a Seahawk fan? I can make a better argument the Cowboys are God's team than the Sea Chickens, I promise you. But you know what the truth is? You ready to put your dukes up for the Sea Chickens right now. And I'm gonna draw a line for the star that leads us to heaven. But when it comes to our walk with God, nobody's drawing lines anymore. Nobody's putting dukes up anymore. We become a powerless church, a weak congregation that wants to be what everybody else is. We used to fight for the things that matter to us. We used to fight for our time with God, fight for our closeness to God. Now everything is more important to us. And you'll throw your dukes up in a minute for the things that please you, but not for the things that please Him. And so I ask you for just a moment, who's on the throne of your heart? And what are the external distractions? Because we're in a war. We're in a war. This is not about, well, we want a church to grow, and so you should serve. And we want our church to grow, so you should be a life group. This is about, God, what example did you leave us? What did you call me to? And what are the challenges now in my life to what you called me to? You know why you know Jesus today? Because of the warriors who came before you. You know why we can worship God today? Because of the men and women who bled for our country to give us the liberty of religion. Freedom of religion. I gotta be honest with you. I know that you're going through some struggles. But if you don't learn how to fight, you can't be fruitful in a war. You got to learn how to fight for the things that matter so that when it comes to the things of this world, you're not going to capitulate. You're not going to back up. You're not going to abandon us. Okay, you still with me? This is warm up. I'm just giving you an introduction. Never become so distracted that you forget how desperately you need Jesus. I'm going to say that one more time. Never become so distracted that you forget how desperately you need Jesus. Some of you, you're new and you're checking this out, and that's super cool. Super cool. But for a lot of us, we remember how desperately we needed Jesus. Some of us came from places that nobody thought we would ever get out of. Some of us came from areas that there was no hope for us to move forward. And some of us recognized that it had not been for the Lord on our side, where would I be? Eli, what are you talking about? The storm didn't come to rock the boat the disciples were in. The storm came to destroy the boat. Yet the focus of the disciples was on how big the storm was. And they forgot that the same Jesus that called them out, the same Jesus that resurrected Lazarus, the same Jesus that stretched withered hands. And it wasn't until they stopped focusing on the storm and they came back and they say, Jesus, I can't handle this anymore. I can't do this anymore. This is going to kill me if something else doesn't change. They remembered how desperately they needed Him. And all that Jesus needs to wake up in the middle of your trial is for you to recognize that you're still nothing without Him. That without Him you can't breathe. That without Him you can't move. That without Him you can't exist. Jesus, we need You. And when they said, Jesus, we need You, Jesus got up and He spoke. And I'm saying something to you right now. Some of you are spinning. You're spinning, you're trying to hold it all together. You're working hard to hold your family together. You're working hard to hold your job together. You're working hard to hold your marriage together. You're spinning, and you're running out of breath. You're running out of strength, and you're doing it because you forgot that it never was you. It never was you. It was always him. It's always going to be him. Come on and begin to stir yourself up, warrior. Begin to check your vision, warrior. What are you focusing on? What's drawing all the attention in your mind? Does it look like you're headed in the right direction? Is the storm getting so big it's making your heart skip beats and affecting you physically? Maybe it's time to go back and sing like the old church used to sing. I need thee. Oh, I need thee. Every hour I need thee. Bless me now, my Savior. I come. Come on, say it again. Say, I come. Come on, one more time. I come to you. Don't forget. Don't forget. We need him. We need him. Look at 2 or 3 people. Say, I need him more than you do. I need him more than you do. Look at the other neighbor and go, you right. You do need him more than I do. You can't have fun. You're in the wrong church. Come on. You need him. Woo! How many of you know somebody that needs Jesus a little more than you do? Come on, man. Me too, Izzy. Me too. All right. You ready for your points today? Did I lay a good enough foundation? Are you tracking with me? Look at your neighbor and say, we were ready to war. Here are 3 things, 3 keys that will help you winning the war. Just because you're in a war doesn't mean you're going to win the war. Just because you're in the middle of a battle or may have lost a battle doesn't mean you're going to win the war. In order to win the war and continue to win the battles, you're going to have to remember a few things. Are you ready? Here's the first thing. Remain willing to take up his cause. Remain willing to take up his cause. Jesus called them out and said, come unto me and follow me, and I will transform you into people, men, women, who catch people for God. When the Lord saved you, look at somebody and say, me, when he saved me. I know you good looking and stuff. I do. I know you look in the mirror and you're like Instagram. All the posted, and you do. You look good. I mean, you look amazing. But in case you think God saved you for decoration purposes, that wasn't it. God saved you to transform you to become a catcher of people. You're not going to believe this, but he didn't transform you to come to church. He didn't even transform you just to read your Bible. When Jesus called you, he called you to be a catcher. Tracking with me? So the problem with not fulfilling your calling is you never feel a sense of purpose and accomplishment. Let me give you this idea really quick. Just stay with me. As a man, and some women are driven this way, especially in our culture today, but as a man, your design is to work. And if you're not working and you're comfortable, there's something wrong with your computer. You need to reboot. Because men were designed to work, and when you're not working and you're not producing, there's a discontentment that's inside of you. It's a frustration, right? If a woman is not nurturing, I don't understand women. I'm just gonna go out there and say it. When my wife had our first child, I'm like, God, at least you gave me one. I ain't never getting another one. Do you know how much pain she went through birthing this joker? Had to get cut up because he was so big. I thought I ain't never gonna have another baby. And about a year and a half later, she's like, we need to have another one. I'm like, what's wrong with you? No problem for me, but if that's when you are in your destiny and in your purpose, pain doesn't stop you, trial doesn't stop you, because you're fulfilling who you are. You weren't designed to go to church on Sunday and go home. It's got quiet here today. You weren't designed to just come and be pretty, although you are. You weren't designed just to come and be handsome. God said, when I called you, I transformed you to be a fisherman of people. Church is just so hard right now. Church is just so boring right now. I don't even, preachers, he dresses funny. Oh my God, why are we going to church again? Church, I went to church last month. I got to go again this month. You know why you're frustrated? Because you still think that being a Christian means going to church. Your calling, you were transformed to be a catcher of men. And when you're not growing and when you're not multiplying, you're going to find yourself distracted and losing the battle you were designed to win. That makes sense? Ooh, man, this is good preaching. I know all too. You know, your preacher likes it when he's giving himself amens. Pastor Eli, you don't know what I do. You don't know how much I love God. You don't know how much I've done for the Lord. I know, but he does. And this is what he says about those of us who have lived sacrificially, those of us who have given, those of us who've sacrificed years into building the kingdom. This is what God says. Come on, stay with me. I know all that you have done for me. You have worked hard and persevered. I know that you don't tolerate evil. You have tested those who claim to be apostles and proved that they're not, for they were impostors. I also know that you have bravely endured trials and persecution because of my name, yet you have not become discouraged. But I have this one thing against you. You have abandoned the passionate love you had for me at the beginning. Now, again, this is just remain willing. Somebody say willing. Remain willing. This is Jesus speaking to a believer who was passionately engaged in ministry, passionately engaged in their purpose and in their transformation. And he's saying, look, I know what you've done. And I'm so glad that you did it. And I'm glad that you didn't get discouraged. And I'm glad that's all of that. But just imagine if you could, because I know some of you right now, you're kind of feeling a little like, what, Eli? Well, let's just change this into your marriage, right? So let's say you're married for 10 years. And your wife looks at you and she goes, honey, I love you. And you've been so good to me. I know you said faithful and you could have cheated on me and you provided for this home. And honey, you've done everything, but I just got to be honest with you. I don't have time for you anymore, so I'll visit you once a week. How many husbands would go, oh, thank you for my visit, love? All right, I'll flip it on you. Hey, sweetheart, you gave your body up. You had 3 of our children. You've worked by my side. You fixed our house. You took care of us, baby girl. You have been a dream woman. I couldn't ask for a better woman. But now my life is shifting. I've got some other priorities. And baby girl, I promise you, once a month, daddy will be home. How many of you ladies are like, Skippy? Yes. That's exactly what Jesus is saying in Revelation chapter 2. I'm so grateful for what you did yesterday, but where's your heart today? Thank you for what you did yesterday, but do you understand that you're in a war and yesterday's accomplishments don't serve today's battles? That there are people, come on, you have been transformed. I wish I could preach. I may not get past point 1 today. I wish I could preach this so loud that the world could hear it. You were transformed for one single purpose. You were transformed for one cause. That cause was to be a deliverer of other people, like somebody was a deliverer to you. And so sometimes that deliverance comes to your husband. Sometimes that deliverance comes to your children. But always there is somebody who the enemy is trying to destroy that God has selected you to bring hope to. So yes, take on life. Yes, get married. Yes, get a career. Yes, begin a business. Yes, have children. Not too many. Yes, do all those things you want to do, but at one point, does it become okay to put down the love that God gave to you and that you gave to him? Heaven and earth will pass away. Your job will pass away. Your husband will pass away. Your wife will pass away. I'm not being negative. I'm not being negative. Your car is going to pass away. Your house is going to pass away. Your bank account is going to pass away. The only thing that's going to remain for eternity is the passion that you were birthed with and the passion that you died with. Woo! Look at your neighbor and say, that's good stuff today. You know why most people give up on their marriage? Because it doesn't start that way. It doesn't start that people go, oh, I love Jesus, but I'm just not going to make it in my marriage today. It starts with a little bit of detraction, little by little by little by little. And what I want to, if I can just title it today, that little detraction, it's a compromised yes. It's a compromised yes. When Jesus, and I have the scriptures there, you can go read it. When Jesus came to Matthew, Mark, when he came to Peter and Andrew, and he said to them, he said, hey, listen, follow me, and I'll make you fishers of men. Follow me. There was a yes. And how many of you remember saying yes to the altar at Jesus? Remember saying yes when you came to the altar? That was a little different than this. If I would have went to you and said, Drew, I know you work for a great company. You have a great career. You've been established in this career. You got a family you're taking care of. But here's what I need you to do. Quit your job and follow me. Now, many of us would go, yes, Jesus, be the Lord of my heart. You want me to quit what? He asked the disciples to quit their jobs to follow him. Does that make sense? It wasn't a little yes. It was a big yes. It was a yes with a major impact in their lives. And I'm going to ask you something. If the yes in your life is ever going to impact somebody else, let me ask you this. How has the yes in your life impacted you? Has your yes to Jesus impacted your life? And I know this is not a traditional Sunday morning, and I hope you're bearing with me today, because I know that today you're in a war, I'm in a war, and I'm trying to get everybody here to recognize that what the enemy wants us to do is compromise our yes to Jesus. I love it, Margaret. I'm going to talk a little bit about you. Can I talk a little bit about you? I didn't ask for permission, but Margaret's running for politics. I'm so proud of Margaret because we need more believers taking their place in the political scene. We need them. We need them. What we don't need is Christians in political power with little yeses. Somehow when the Lord blesses us, we decrease our yes. When God amplifies us, we decrease our yes. My kids, the more authority I release to them, the older they get, the slower their yes comes. Come on, as long as they know Daddy has the car keys. Daddy, I need to borrow the car. Did you mow the lawn? Yes. Now they don't even be asking, right, because they got their own car. Hey, did you mow the lawn? What? I'm going to get to, the yes gets a little prolonged. Because now they don't see me as their source. They got a little money now. Oh my gosh. They got a little bit of liberty now. So now I'm not their source, so their yes is delayed. I'm just asking you today, how is your willingness in this war? Do you still have a willing yes for God? Do you still have a big yes for Jesus? Do you get up in the morning when your body doesn't want to get up, but you know you got to spend time with God? Do you still say yes? Do you still say yes when it's 6 o'clock in the evening and you want to go home and kick up your stinky feet and watch football? Do you still say yes to life group? Come on, when somebody calls you and is going through a trouble and trial and tribulation, do you go, oh, here it is again? Or do you still say yes? Do you still say yes when you're believing God to save your spouse and deliver your children? Or have you got tired of saying yes? If you're going to make it in war, and if you're going to survive this season, and I got to be honest with you, man, it is a war. You got to say yes. The old church would sing a song and it would go like this.
I'll say yes, Lord, yes, to your will and to your way. I'll say yes, Lord, yes. I will trust you and obey. When your spirit speaks to me, with my whole heart I'll agree, and my answer will be yes, Lord, yes.
You know what the world's fighting for, Chip? My yes. Every time I go to Walmart, they want me to say yes. Yes, it's on sale. Yes. I need that. I didn't know I need it, but I guess I need it. Yes. Yes. You go to the theater, come on, and they want you to say yes. You go to the car salesman and they want you to say, come on, look at the house. The cabinets are bad. We need a new house. We say, that person at the office who's having trouble in their marriage and wish they had your marriage, what are they trying to get you to say to them? Yes, everybody is fighting for your yes. And if you're going to protect something, protect your yes. I don't say yes to women who are looking to find courage, not from their pastor, but from another man. I don't say yes to men who are trying to bind themselves to me and do negative things. I don't say yes because you want to be my buddy. Not everybody wants to be my buddy. Some people want to come and take my yes. I don't say yes to every job that's given to me because I understand the time that's given to that job. So I don't say yes to everything. I say yes to the things that matter. So I ask you today, is your yes still fresh? You know, I don't know, man. You take this the way you want to take it. You just take it the way you want to take it. Robert and Vanessa. Robert's funny. He asked me, Dad, he said, Pastor, did your truck make it today? I said, Robert, my wife didn't have to push mine in like yours. You know what I love about Robert and Vanessa? They just celebrated their anniversary. And if you don't know if you look at people's posts, right? 19 years ago, I said yes. 22 years ago, I said I do. 40 years ago, I said yes. And can I be honest with you? My wife don't give a care in the world about my 22-year-old yes. What she wants to know is, would you still say yes today? Knowing what you know about me now. See, when I first met her, she was perfect. Her eyes just batted. Hair was flowing. All the curves. Come on, somebody. I'm a man just like you. Don't trip. Perfect. We spent time together. Stuff started showing up like attitude. Come on, somebody. You know what I'm talking about. Every 20 days, got an attitude. I'm talking brave because she ain't here. You hear what I'm saying? If she was here, stuff starts changing. Things develop. I didn't know you did that. I didn't think it was going to be this hard. It's hard being married to you. It's challenging being married to you. And I know that she feels the same way. I thought you were the preacher. I thought I married a perfect man. Holy moly. You might be the devil's cousin, Eli. So then 22 years later, 7 years later, the question is not, did you say yes? The question is, will you still say yes? So I'm going to ask you, has the weight of ministry discouraged you? Has the abandonment of people made your heart heavy? Has the silent moments of your walk with Christ discouraged you? I came to tell you, sweetheart, we're in a war. Don't let his silence confuse you with his affirmation. Don't let the trouble confuse you about how he feels about you. Don't let the trouble confuse you about where you're at right now. He said yes when he sent his son 2,000 years ago because he loves you, and he's still saying yes today. He's still saying yes today. I mentioned Robert and Vanessa because they did something unusual. It's something unusual. Robert is a mechanic and he's working for a farmer, and so they're in the middle of hops. How many of you like hops? Oh, you in church, you're talking about? There's some spiritual liars up in here, all right. He's working at hops, and if you know anything about hops, they're 12-hour days, 7 days a week. What's that? 14-hour days. She works harder than I do. I'm telling you, women are beasts. 14-hour days, 7 days a week. We're in harvest right now, right, Robert? Look where Robert's at. Interesting, right? Interesting. Look where Robert's at. Chief mechanic. Friday, we had a leaders event during harvest. And Vanessa, who he said yes to, their anniversary was Thursday. And he said this, she said this to him, why don't you work Thursday on our anniversary? So Friday for our anniversary, we can go to leadership class. I know some of you are like, yeah. I remember what it's like. What you're seeing is what a fresh yes. A fresh yes. Remember when you would say yes? Remember when you would say yes? And I'm not, man, Tony, if you feel I'm preaching at you, okay, feel that way. But I'm talking about myself in this season, because I feel God is asking me to go places I haven't been, and it's tough to keep a fresh yes right now. I feel like there are so many things happening right now in my life. I'm like, God, I can't always breathe. Eli, I just want to know, are you still going to give me a fresh yes? And I'm standing here right now as our church goes into another growth season. I'm standing here right now as I'm launching the biggest business of my life. I'm sitting here right now as I got a 21-year-old, an 18-year-old, a 19-year-old, and a 17-year-old that are all going to be 30 next week. My life is busy. My life is fast. And I came this morning to tell you I recognize that I'm in a war right now. And what God is asking me is, Eli, will you still say yes? Yes. Yes. So let me conclude with this thought. This is really uncomfortable preaching for me, Bernie, because I want everybody to go, man, Pastor Eli preaches so good. I'm coming next week. And sometimes that doesn't happen. But I'm going to conclude with this thought. Drew, when Jesus resurrected, he went and he showed himself to the disciples, then he disappeared. And then he had moments, pockets, when he showed back up. One of the times Peter was fishing, coincidence, right? He called him out of fishing, Tony, and he went back to fishing. You ever been there? Only one, okay. Peter went back to fishing. Jesus comes on the edge of the boat, the edge of the shore, and you know, Peter comes. And so then Jesus engages Peter in a conversation, and he asks him one simple question. Peter, Jesus, do you love me? Come on, look at the face, right? Look what I do, Jesus. I just left the boat again. Of course I love you. And then Jesus asked this crazy question. Peter, do you love me? And now this went to, of course I love you. Does somebody ever question you and your passion for God and you become defensive? The first one was assumption. Of course I love you. Why would you even ask me that? And then he asks him again. Do you love me? And Peter becomes offended. Of course I love you. You're not going to believe this. the rudeness, the audacity, the overbearingness of Jesus to question Peter a third time. And he says, do you love me? And finally, Peter recognized his yes had lost its freshness. And he had allowed the death of Christ, the weight of now becoming the leader that he had to be, to cause him to go back to a place that Jesus delivered him from. And Jesus says, your yes is not in what you say, son. Your yes is what you do. What do you mean, God? Take care of the babies I gave you, son. Take care of the babies I gave you. Feed my sheep. Remember what I called you for? When I called you, I transformed you to be a fisherman. Get back there and fish, son. You love me? Be a fisherman. You love me? Take care of what I gave you. You love me? Say yes. Come on, stand to your feet. Give God a big old praise here today. Come on, give him a big praise today.